don't even care about me.
Numbness to the pain. Moral Orel Season 3, Episode 1 is a crazy episode. I mean, it's the follow-up to the infamous nature episode where somehow Orel gets shot. The events of this episode happen simultaneously as the nature episode happens. While Clay and Orel are in the wilderness, Blerta is going through her natural day-to-day. And we get to see a peek into her misery. Her deep, deep, dark misery. She starts off her day by playing with a tool. You know the tool. That's just such a wild start to the day. And it basically shows how Blerta has a really, really messed up relationship with feelings, affection, and touch. Other than using a sexual device to numb herself in the morning, Blerta finally realizes that her second son has been switched with another person's son, so she has to go get him back. After she gets back her son, she goes and has a conversation with the coach in the bar. Just to give some background context on who the coach is Daniel Stopfrang. He's a stalker, a serial stalker. He had an affair with Blerta to get closer to Clay. Blerta got pregnant and had Shapey, and he doesn't care. Because all he cares about is his love for Clay and wanting to get closer to Clay and wanting to have what Clay has, but not truly caring for any of those things. He's weird. He's extremely creepy. It's just messed up. The level of dysfunctionality is incomprehensible. Blerta goes to talk to him and she's basically like, could you see yourself loving me? Why don't you love me? And he basically says, I just don't. And she wonders, is it because of him referring to Clay? And he's basically like, yeah, basically. He has no consideration for Blerta's feelings. He just doesn't care. He's like, wow, that's such an epiphany. Like, I just don't care. And that's a thing with Blerta. She's dealt with so many people not caring about her that she tries to numb herself. And the way she does that is through sexual devices from the local hardware store and hurting herself really, really bad. To put it shortly, Blerta is a sadist. And for those who don't know what that means, it's basically someone who derives great pleasure from harming themselves, oftentimes through sexual harming gratification. And that is exactly what Blerta does. After the coach rejects her, she goes to the Reverend and demands affection. But he also rejects Blerta. There's a pattern here. She goes to the store and gets herself a really, really big electronic sexual device, if you get what I mean. And again, uses it, hurts herself. She then goes to see the doctor and she describes her pain. And the way she describes it is in such a sexual manner. I mean, the way she talks, the tone that she has, it's all sexual. And the doctor is also engaging in this. He's indulging the fantasies, and he himself is also feeling a certain way because of the way that she is acting and interacting with him. Long story short, they're having wordplay with each other, sexual wordplay, and it's disgusting.
Bad?
There's that word again.
It really hurts, Doctor.
Describe your pain. Please. Please.
I don't know what kind of doctor you guys go to, but this is not how my doctor acts. I'm just gonna say that. After the doctor sees Blerta's lacerations, he's basically like, oh, God blessed me with the gift of not seeing these lacerations as deformed or bad. I actually see them as beautiful. Well, not word by word what he said, but pretty much what he was getting at. Probably has a fetish for these type of things. You know, with sadists, there's a dominant, and I believe that's what he is.
Keep on doing whatever it is you're doing. Don't change your habits in the name of health or any other new agey claptrap.
Okay.
I'm not even surprised by what the doctor is saying. I'm more surprised that they even have a doctor in the first place. I mean, this town believes in doctors? Wow. That's something. Further highlighting this dysfunction is when Blerta literally burns herself, and she kind of enjoys it. She feels no pain, or at least maybe she's numb to the pain. I found myself honestly disgusted and sad watching this episode. A lot of times I didn't know what to think of a certain scene or make of a certain interaction, and that kind of puzzled me even more so than the egg episode, or maybe on the same level. I guess moral oral is about being puzzling and confusing, and a lot of times sad to watch. The doctor and Blerta's interactions blur the line between physician to patient care.
I sure did take good care of me, Doctor.
My pleasure, Mrs. Puffington. You've got a wonderfully sensitive body there, but it can take a lot of abuse.
Call me Blerta.
Again, Blerta is looking for the affection that she does not have, and she knows that her husband or her affair will not provide to her. Blerta is lonely, and again, she seeks love through pain. Are you sure you'll take good care of me? A question that Blerta keeps asking, but sadly never gets a loving answer to. Blerta and Clay really do in fact neglect their kids, but in this episode, I'm going to focus specifically on Blerta and her pretty much doing her thing with a bunch of pills on the side while her kids off doing who knows what. Again, because of the dysfunction of their family, pills, negligence, neglect, and all these things are commonplace. I don't need to use that horrible apparatus anymore. Blerta basically falls in love with the doctor and stops harming herself because she has feelings for him. But, again, you don't even care about me. No one seems to care about Blerta. The doctor also rejects Blerta because he cares for and not cares about Blerta. And again, Blerta is distraught. After Blerta professes her affection, the doctor doesn't even look at her anymore. He doesn't look her in the face. Now he knows he has a degree. Now he knows, oh my god, I'm a doctor. I'm not supposed to do these things. Now he knows. We don't get to see Blerta's face in this scene again. It's really sad. We get to see her foot. And the doctor almost leaving until he hears a phone call. Turns out it's Clay calling because somehow Orel got shot. Some time has passed since the hospital incident, and Orel and Blerta are having a conversation off screen, but we are seeing it from Clay's perspective as he's walking through the hallway. Orel continuously asks Blerta why did she choose to marry Clay? Why did she choose to marry his father? Heavy quotation marks on father. Blerta continuously answers, why not? This is very telling of their relationship. Eventually, Blerta walks into the hallway. She steps off scene. And we see Blerta. She breaks down. And as soon as she sees Clay, she musters back her courage and goes back to her stoic face. She doesn't want Clay to see her weak. And this is the relationship that they have. She walks straight away from him. The episode ends with both Clay and Blerta laying still on their beds, similar to how the episode started. I remember when I first watched this show, I found myself blaming Blerta for a lot of things, and the reason why Clay became the way that he was. I mean, when we watched their backstory, it was Blerta who first gave Clay alcohol. It was Blerta who somewhat encouraged his alcoholism. But just referencing my old video, I'm gonna say this again. You can't break something that isn't already broken. If it doesn't already have cracks in it, it can't truly be broken. Clay was a goody two-shoes mama's boy with a deep Oedipus complex who uncoincidentally happens to be a horrible father and husband. And Blerta is most likely a masochist who enjoys suffering deep pain because of the lack of affection that she had growing up and even now. This episode reminds me of a White Underbelly episode that I watched based on a masochist, and a lot of the things that the girl was talking about deeply reminded me of how Blerta is. We don't truly get a backstory on Blerta other than the fact that she used Clay as a ticket to get away from her family, but what I can assume is that she is most likely the unloved and the rebel child in her family. Because of this lack of affection and attention she hasn't received, she was so quick to take whatever chance she had to leave. So when Clay popped up He was her ticket. This is a full circle moment to when Orel asks his mother, "Why did you choose to marry my dad?" And the response is just so interesting because when we take it back to when she was talking to Danielle or to the doctor or even to the reverend, she had reasons for why she wanted them. She wanted their affection. She wanted their love. She wanted their touch. She wanted what they can make her feel what she does not have. But when asked about Clay, her only answer is why not? And when she sees what Clay has done to her son, she breaks down for a moment in the hallway, cries, and as soon as she sees that Clay is viewing her, she mean bugs again. It's pretty clear that the reason for why Clay went into the hallway in the first place was because he saw the doctor's handkerchief, and he was most likely going to ask Blerta questions about this. But he stumbled upon another conversation. And again, Clay does not feel any shame, guilt, or anything. Because Clay is a perfect goody two-shoes mama boy. And he really needs to grow up. And Blerta also needs to grow up. In the end, their kids need parents, and they sure aren't that. The song that starts and ends this episode is very reminiscent of Blerta and Clay's relationship. Dare I say it, the whole Moral Orel family and the whole of Moralton. Thank you.